it's Kit. Time for another video. Today, boy, do I have a treat for you. We are looking at Studio Ocean Mark Reels, and this is the ordinary, and these are the OTA Garage S2T models, and all of them are L50 sizes. This one is a PW. This one is an HG, high gear. All right, so before we touch these, this is, well, the standard one. And we already know, just so we refresh our memories here, we are going to weigh it. And now remember, this one is the ordinary, not an F custom 2000 size, which is the same size as this, and this is 633. Okay, so I'm gonna take note of that. And then the F custom is heavier than 633 grams. This is 542. Okay, so we have a 111 gram difference between the ordinary Studio Ocean Mark and the silver, not an F custom Osha Jigger 2000. And remember that the F custom is actually heavier. This is 507. Okay, so 507, and that gives us 126. Right, so that is 126 gram difference between the ordinary Osha Jigger and this S2T. All right, and I'm gonna talk about that while we see the insides of this reel and see exactly why it's lighter. All right, so if you are new to the channel, this channel talks about the hows and whys of fishing. We cover everything from big game, ultralight, everything in the middle, including fly fishing. And today we're talking about Studio Ocean Mark reels and how they made the OTA Garage S2T L50 light or lighter. We already have a 100 plus gram difference between this and the ordinary Osha Jigger, and the F custom is heavier than the silver one. So what we're gonna do is actually open it and see exactly why, and then we'll talk about why having a light reel is important. All right, so this is gonna be very interesting. We'll see exactly what this is about. I'm no reel technician, but I know how to fix my reels. I maintain my own reels and stuff, so I have a bit of experience, but I'm not the most experienced person for this. We have our friend Rodney for that. Unfortunately, he's left us for Tennessee, so I'm gonna have to tinker, or I have to go back to tinkering my own reels. But this is very interesting. You know, again, Studio Ocean Mark, once the screws pop out, they don't get off the spool, which makes it quite easy to actually take them apart. All right, so the frame, as you can see, it's ported. You can see the porting there, the holes, of course, and then you see that? See? This thing is so light. Okay, of course, the gears there. All right. Now, let's open the S2T just for comparison. create some space here. All right. By the way, Faisal, thank you for letting me borrow these reels. So Faisal was kind enough to let us borrow his two S2Ts. There's that other one that I just put aside was actually the PG version. This is the HG version or high gear, and that one was the PW or power gear. So he uses both for his slow jigging and obviously for different depths. And I'm not too sure if he actually uses that for fast jigging, the power gear, but it would be a perfect reel for fast jigging. All right, so there we go. So as you can see, this one is not only ported inside or milled inside. You can see that the holes actually on the side there. Okay, now let's look at the difference. This is 92 grams. Wow, okay, that's light. This is 82, so a difference of 10 grams. Just this is 10 grams. Now, this is stainless steel. This is titanium. So that much is written on the website. Okay, now if you look at the gears inside, you'll see it's also ported. I mean, there's holes there, while this one doesn't. And I think the material here is stainless steel, and this one is brass. So that's a bit of weight, and there's a weight reduction here. All the studs, I believe, that they put in here is actually titanium, and that's where you actually find the weight savings. So overall, this is 35 grams lighter than the silver one. All right. So when I asked Studio Ocean Mark why the S2T was so light, they actually said that for sensitivity. And then I was like, okay, I get that. And that's right. Because the thing is, a lot of people, when you talk about sensitivity, they talk about the rod. And rightfully so, when you're talking about sensitivity, the first thing that pops into your mind would be the rod, because that's pretty much what we hold, and it is what transmits or senses the vibration. But what a lot of people don't know is that sensitivity is more than just that. And there's a cost to all of this. Now, this is already very cost prohibitive for a lot of people, and I get that. I understand, okay? We made a video of this reel, and some of you guys have watched it, I'm sure. But why is there a need for a reel to be as light as possible, while obviously maintaining sound structural integrity? The biggest question is, why do you need a reel like this when all the other brands are actually making reels that are heavy and it's perfectly fine? There we go. As you can see, it was very, very fast, right? And oh yeah, obviously the carbon handle, the what do you call this? This cork knob, this contributes to the lightness of this reel. Now let's talk a little bit about physics. Now, when you're talking of sensitivity and you go online, you Google, you'll find videos talking about sensitivity, and they're talking about the rod, and rightfully so. You know, the rod there, okay, and then you have your reel, and then you have your line, and you have your lure. Okay, so this is basically our setup. Now you're holding this. What they're talking about is the perception of sensitivity when it comes for, let's say, person to person is very subjective, meaning your experience on sensitivity is limited by what sensitive is to you. And example, one guy who's used fiberglass rods all his life, and you move him over to a graphite rod, he will find the graphite rod, no matter how crappy it is, more sensitive than the fiberglass rod. That is correct. But see, when you're fishing, you're not just fishing with the rod. And this is the objective part of this whole sensitivity thing, because at the very end of the day, there will be a level wherein everybody would agree that yes, this whole system is sensitive. And that's what I want to talk about. This whole thing, your rod, your reel, your line, and your lure, this is what you fish with, not just the rod. So I think it's awfully unfair to actually just say and talk about the rod and not talk about the whole system, because even if we have the same rod, we might have different reels. And what happens is that I would end up with a bit more sensitive system. And even if you held it, even if, you'll say that the rods are equal and then the reels are different, the feel, the way you sense the sensitivity or the way you gauge the sensitivity is because of vibrations. So the transmission of vibration on my combo would probably be better than with the other guy. And that becomes objective for both of us because we both agree that, okay, this is sensitive. As I mentioned, your rod, your line, and the jig and your reel has a lot to do with how vibration is transmitted and how you feel it. Now, a lighter reel will transmit the vibration better and you will perceive it more than with a heavier reel, because heavy reels will dampen that vibration. The same frequency, the same strength vibration will be dampened by whatever mass is there. Okay? So if the vibration gets transmitted and you have a heavier reel, you will feel it less than with a lighter reel. You will feel it more. Okay, with a lighter reel. That's just how you feel. Another thing to consider when you're fishing and feeling these vibrations is the material of your line. And everyone who does jigging, obviously these days we're using braid. Braid transmits the vibration well, way better than mono. And when you're fishing shallow, it's kind of different when you're fishing really deep water. Like take, for example, we're fishing an average of, let's say on a normal jigging trip, we're fishing 150 meters. At 150 meters, if you're using mono, more than likely you wouldn't be able to feel the bites. The amount of time that it takes for the vibration and frequency to hit the rod tip would obviously be longer, right? So we have the length to contend with. We have the material, and often overlooked is the tension, okay? And this is why this weight here matters. The tension is what carries the vibration towards your rod tip. Now, it could happen two ways. It could be that it strikes, the line is tight, you feel that. And then there are some that's literally the absence of that vibration, which means the fish has taken your jig and moved up, all of which you feel on your rod tip, but how you perceive it would depend also on how heavy your reel is. So again, very simple. I hope I actually, this is a very oversimplification of things, but all the factors are there, and I really hope that this kind of gives you an idea. Having things lighter, your whole system, your rod, your reel, your braid, and this reel is a representation of how you can make things as light as possible, as strong as possible, and give you those vibrations that you might not otherwise feel when you have a heavier reel. Now, we're talking jigging here, but actually this kind of applies for pretty much any sort of fishing. This also applies only for types of fishing where you're actually holding the rod. It's very inconsequential to talk about sensitivity when your type of fishing is actually just putting it in a rod holder. So this particular one, especially when it's fishing types where you are holding the rod and reel, okay? So the weight of the reel matters a lot. And it's not just because it's light and you don't get tired, but lightness the light weight of the reel actually helps you catch more by detecting bites that you wouldn't otherwise feel. And the lighter the reel, the better sensitivity you will get in your overall system. So that's it. I mean, in a nutshell, we're not going to dive down to, like, equations and all that. But the cost of this, maybe not something for everyone. But if you ask people that have used this, they will say, like, yeah, wow, it's not just because they're getting tired less and they fish longer, and it's also it is because they're feeling bites that a lot of people might miss, and that's what you're paying for. But fishing, when we're fishing, what we want is to catch as much as possible, and setting ourselves up for success in catching is possibly the most expensive bit, right? So when you set yourself up for catching, what, you get a boat, you go on trips, we do all those things. A lot of people spend on equipment and not just the trips, because the trips you can go to, but how you catch, or the difference between catching five and one, depends on your skill, but also the equipment that you use. And these give you the best chance. It's not to say that, again, I'm not saying that the OSHA jigger is a bad reel, okay? Because in theory, what you could do is to reduce the weight of this, you use a smaller reel. It has smaller mass, weight is smaller, and obviously what's going to happen is that you're going to feel more because, again, weight dampens vibrations. It absorbs the vibrations, whereas you would be able to feel it with lighter reels, such as these. You would feel more just by changing the mass that you're holding in your hand. That's it. It's that simple. So your takeaway for this video really is that when you're putting together whatever combo you want, just as long as it's a type of fishing that you're holding, you have to think about not just the weight that you're holding, and that's what's going to keep you fishing longer. But when you're selecting rods and reels especially, look at the weight and see if it's something that you could work with, and see if it's something that would increase your catch. This is not me saying that heavier reels won't catch you more, okay? Far from that. Now, if a fish slams the bait, you'll feel it. But I'm guaranteeing you that according to physics, you're actually missing out on a lot of bite. And that is just because of how you can feel. You're missing out on strikes that you don't feel. That's it. And this is the whole reason why, when I hear some guy actually say that I don't mind heavy reels, or I don't trust light reels, physics kind of disagrees. So if there are guys out there that believe heavier reels are, the answer, because they kind of make you feel as if the reel is sturdy, that's not entirely true. Because although it might feel sturdy in your hands, it could be that you're missing out strikes as well. All right. Now, anyway, so no shade on anything. I'm not knocking on brands or whatnot, but I'm just saying that this is something to look at. And yeah, that's it. And for me, I went this way. Of course, I have like Studio Ocean Mark reels because I believe that it does help you. Now, it's up to you to believe me or not. I know that this is all very cost prohibitive, and I understand that. And this is the whole reason why not a lot of people have these reels. But if given the chance to actually have them, I'd gladly use them. And not just because they're expensive reels, but they're expensive for a reason. And it's not just the price tag that you're looking at, and it should be what the reel brings you. And this reel brings a lot. Now, the features of this is crazy. The fall lever, okay? They have sort of like a fall lever on this one. You could adjust the fall by pushing this up and down. Minimum would be like really tight, and then free spool, and then you could actually adjust the fall rate of your jig just doing that. Obviously, it's light, titanium parts, everything that you could possibly throw on this reel as far as features are concerned are already in this reel. You can't upgrade this further. That's it. These reels are just amazing. All right. So yeah, that's it for now. Hope you learned something. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, share the video if you think that it's helpful for your friends. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Class dismissed.